Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I want to talk to you about my Black Ops 6 multiplayer wishlist, because the Black Ops 6 multiplayer beta starts August 30th, which as of the time of this recording is about 6 weeks from now. In typical Call of Duty fashion, the beta is going to have an early access weekend for pre-order holders and probably for influencers as well, and then the second weekend is going to be open beta to where anybody can just hop in and play. The good news is that the beta happens on all platforms at the same time. We get Xbox, PlayStation, and PC beta happening all at the same time, whereas in previous years it was PlayStation exclusive for the first weekend, and then it would move over to PC and Xbox later. I guess since Microsoft is in charge of COD now, they're making somewhat smarter moves than Sony, and they've decided it's going to make them more money if everybody can play at the same time and get the same experience, which I fully support. But back to the point of this video. Nobody quite knows what we're in store for the Black Ops 6 multiplayer beta, if it's going to be good, bad, ugly, buggy, what kind of changes are going to go through, how many maps and guns and characters we'll be able to try. And Black Ops 6 has some wildly innovative changes in store for the gameplay loop, such as Omni Movement, which we'll be talking about soon. And we just don't know how that's going to feel until we can get our grubby little gamer hands on it. So today, I wanted to talk about my wish list for Black Ops 6 multiplayer, not just for the beta, but in general. And I also wanted to note before I get started that this is my personal wish list. It is not intended to be representative of what the overall community wants or what I think is best for the health of the game. This is just what selfish Drifter wants for the game, and my number one desire for this beta, as I've said before in other videos, is I want smooth, functional Omni movement. I want this game, and really any FPS game that I play, to have great fundamentals. You're going to hear this 2 more times from me over the next week as I release reviews of Concord and Ascendant, where I talk about the fundamentals of an FPS game. But every FPS game that I play, at least, needs to be fundamentally good, smooth, fluid, have a fun combat loop, kind of makes sense. And one of the most important aspects of this is making sure that the movement system is fluid and that the movement system makes sense within the context of the game. So for Black Ops 6, I just want Omni Movement to be good. Well, I mean, we're getting it. I'm not going to say I don't want it or boots on the ground or throw it away. And just whatever they're serving up, I want it to be a great dish. For Black Ops 6, I want it to be like when I go to a fancy restaurant and I tell the waiter to surprise me and they bring me something absolutely delicious. Just please let it work as intended, because it is the biggest new feature added to the game, the biggest departure from the standard tried and true Call of Duty formula since we had wall running and jetpacks. And I genuinely think a large portion of how well Black Ops 6 performs as a game over its entire life cycle is riding on how well the Omni Movement system is implemented. So I'm genuinely hoping that it's good, and I'm hoping that all the haters out there on all those other YouTube videos are just wrong. On top of this, I also hope that the new predictive movement and auto mantle system works really well, because as a guy with weak and kind of screwed up hands, it really would be nice to have something that helps me cut back on the amount of buttons I have to press and spam for advanced movement in, well, really any game, much less Call of Duty. So I'm really hoping that auto mantle system is nice. Moving along, I want to talk about weapons, and we're going to start with weapons in the generic section of predictable recoil. Number one thing I want for weapons in the game is for them to have predictable recoil, because Call of Duty has this sort of on and off again relationship with random recoil, or random recoil within certain bounds, where sometimes your gun kicks a lot, sometimes it kicks a little, but there's this sort of tolerance range in there. And I feel that this system often leads to a lot of unpredictability and makes my gunfights feel wonky sometimes. What random or large amounts of flinch don't help either. We could deal without that. But I would be much happier if Call of Duty implemented a more Valorant or Counter-Strike style recoil system that is extremely predictable. Even if it's 100% predictable, I'll go with that. I don't want the Valorant or Counter-Strike style bizarre crosshairs where your crosshairs are like here, but your bullets are coming out up here. I don't want that. But I do want the idea that every time I pull the trigger and I cycle through my 35-round magazine, that each one of those has a predictable amount of recoil. Obviously, you know, changing if I'm strafing or walking or diving or something, but predictability. Because for me, if the recoil is predictable, that means my gunfights are fair, and it's worth my time to play the game and master the recoil of whatever particular weapon it is that I like best. Moving along from this, I would also prefer classic weapons with limited attachments. So in terms of available weapons, I mostly want them to come from the 90s. Just a lot of era authentic weapons, ideally with their real names and not some goofy off-brand COD name that they put in there just to avoid trademark infringement. Probably not going to get that because they're probably not going to pay for all those guns. And I know that it's Black Ops, okay? We've already got like a poison bomb knife thing and gadgets, and there's some prototype weapons. I'm totally fine with that. Crazy gadgets, crazy prototypes. I'm here for it with Black Ops. But for the bulk of the weapons for the game, I would like it for it to be a standard MP5N, Desert Eagle, M4A1, Spaz Shotgun, Uzi, Steyr AUG, you know, all the classic 90s weapons that you would think of showing up in a movie like, say, Die Hard, or Die Hard with a Vengeance, or Die Hard 2. We have a lot of Die Hards here. I think Die Hard 2 is Die Harder. And then, man, after Samuel L. Jackson left that series just completely went off a cliff after Die Hard with a Vengeance. So, but anyway, classic 90s weapons, that's what I want. Honestly, that's kind of the era that my brain is most stuck in. So not video game Drifter analyzing weapons, but real life Drifter and his knowledge of weapons and how they function and my experience shooting them. I have the most experience with 90s style military weapons because they're the ones that are available to rent around here, so I understand those better. I'm actually getting so old now that I'm starting to lose track of what type of light arms that modern armies are fighting with. I am actually starting to kind of fall behind on that one. And the second part of this section is that I think I would be happier with less overall attachments. Modern Warfare 2 and especially Modern Warfare 3 were extremely overwhelming for me. There were so many attachments and so many aftermarket parts that honestly a lot of them started to run together, even for me, the stats guy. You would think the stats guy would be in love with this plethora of attachments and options, and we had weapon tuning in Modern Warfare 2 and stuff like that. But for game design, sometimes I believe you can have too many choices, and when you have too many choices, you have no meaningful choices at all. Because I would enjoy having a handful of unique and distinct attachments that make meaningful changes to the weapons, rather than hundreds or thousands of little attachments that make changes so small they're difficult to notice. And no stupid weapon tweaking thing either. I don't think we're getting that back. I don't want that back. And part of this has to do with the fact that with all of my illnesses and boo-boos, I just don't get to game as much anymore. And I really genuinely dislike games that have a grinding aspect to them, which brings me to the next section. I would be very happy if Black Ops 6 were less grindy in general. That's a wish that I'm almost certainly not going to get because COD has increased the grind for every single game for the last 15 years. And I don't mean the grind to maximum prestige or to a particular rank. I'm totally fine with that. I don't want people to get bored. Rather, I mean the amount of time required to unlock all of the gear in the game, to get all the weapons, to get all the perks, to get all the attachments, to get the good stuff. Because again, in poor health, it's very difficult for me to put in the time to do that. And these days I'm finding myself much happier with games that have most of the stuff unlocked from the get-go, or at least one full kit unlocked from the start. If we're talking things like MOBA or hero shooters, I don't want to load into a match feeling woefully underkitted because I didn't have 40 hours to play this week. I don't want to spend a month getting certain attachments on my guns or the last set of perks. And I guess when I'm thinking about games like this, I'm thinking a little bit more like League of Legends or Overwatch, where you still might have to unlock characters in those games, but you get the full character kit. You get their guns, it's just what they do. Other games have a more limited set of attachments and weapons, and I've enjoyed that better because I don't feel just behind. I don't feel emotionally deflated because I didn't have 80 hours to grind up to get the cool attachment that makes the gun shoot twice or whatever. And the basic idea of being able to jump into Call of Duty and have your full weapon kit pretty much ready to go without having to spend the first 3 months of the game unlocking everything sounds really nice to me. I know that's terrible for maintaining monthly active users. Those grind walls that developers set up are really good for retaining people, so there's almost no chance I'm going to get that wish. Moving along, I would like for Black Ops 6 to have a medium time to kill. and I'm just really basic Call of Duty standard. I don't like fast time to kill because it punishes me for being a boomer and having slow reaction times. It just feels bad to instantly die, and slow time to kill feels weird because enemies just feel like bullet sponges, and the game loses what little sense of realism it had when I have to dump like 2 mags into somebody for them to die. Long time to kill does reward long-term tracking, precision, accuracy, and just general sort of gunfight, dodge, strafe mechanics. Fast time to kill typically rewards really fast reaction times. So I feel like medium is the place, and I hope that Treyarch can get that balance just right. I want to have actual gunfights, exchange bullets, for my aim to be rewarded, for me to know that I'm better than the other guy, not just a little faster, or I had a gun that was a little bit higher DPS and they had a ton of health. I don't want to dump an entire mag into a guy and only to have him run around the corner and heal up. I don't want to instantly die because I peeked my head out for a split second like it's Counter-Strike and just got popped by a pistol from across the map and the time to kill is insane or something like that. I just want the game to have a nice balance, and I think medium time to kill is the way to go with this. It allows me to react, to shoot, to track, to dodge, to maybe scrape away a little bit, while it's still allowing for picks and relatively quick deaths in Call of Duty fashion. When it comes to maps in the Black Ops 6 multiplayer, I don't feel like I have a lot on the wish list for those, because Treyarch has historically done a fantastic job with maps, both in terms of flow and in aesthetics. All I want are the classic Treyarch 3-lane maps, colorful, they play well. Perhaps on top of colorful, it's also important to have enemy characters pop and be distinct from the background, which is a different criticism for a different game I'm reviewing about this time next week when the embargo lifts. So whatever color and aesthetics we have on the maps, the characters need to stand out from them so that I know what I'm shooting at. And then lastly in this video, I've got a couple of house cleaning, more administrative type things like lesser skill-based matchmaking. I think the entire multiplayer experience could probably do without skill-based matchmaking, because right now XDefiant is literally crushing it, and the lack of skill matching is its biggest selling point. I feel that at the very least, Activision would be wise to loosen skill-based matchmaking and not as prevalent or not as easy for people to feel, because apparently people feel things a lot more accurately than I can scientifically test for them. And it would be something that would be extremely popular for the community. It would just be like an easy win for the community, because that's probably the #1 question that people have right now, and the #1 thing that will prevent people from moving on to this multiplayer experience. If there's a lot of like heavy skill matching, they're not going to do it. And are we going to get this? Probably not. We're probably not. They're probably going to keep doing the same thing they've been doing for a long time. And all of this is really out of Treyarch's hands. A lot of this is on Demonware. One thing that isn't on Demonware, but is sort of on the COD brand in general, is I would like better anti-cheat, new anti-cheat. I know that we just recently got Ricochet anti-cheat a few years ago. It's had a series of successive upgrades, but we could still use a better and more robust anti-cheat for Call of Duty, because I still do run into people that have what we'll call suspiciously good aim. And that isn't limited to just Call of Duty, but basically every other game that I'm playing. It's getting bad to the point where I see a majority of console players want PC players removed from crossplay or quarantined in some way. And that's not the gaming future that I dreamed of. You could say that I'm a gaming bleeding heart, and I believe that everybody should be treated equally regardless of system, and that we should all be able to come and play together however we want. But at present, I can't help but to acknowledge the fact that there's a disproportional amount of cheaters on PC that are causing serious problems for everybody. And no, it's not like consoles don't have cheating. They absolutely do. It's just less prevalent. So some nice anti-cheat upgrades would make me very happy. Just something to cut that down a little bit. I don't want to have to go into a game with a mindset of analyzing people's aim to see if I can get a feel if they're cheating or not. They just shouldn't be able to do that. We should have real anti-cheat in COD. And that is the end of my Black Ops 6 multiplayer wish list. I've covered every topic that is personally important to me, but if I've missed one that you would like for me to make a video on, or a topical piece, or maybe even just a short or something here on YouTube, please let me know down there in the description. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.